Let's beat the waiver wire for week 16 right now on Fantasy Football Today Express. All right. Well, first of all, news coming in now. Josh Jacobs had an MRI on his knee, and we don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. So beat the waiver wire, get Emmanuel Wilson immediately.
That is you stealing my thunder is what it is. That is the big get, and it's for week 15, not for week 16. Jacobs talked at his locker earlier on Thursday, and he called himself day-to-day. That's what the team called him, day-to-day, the week before the Vikings game. He didn't play against the Vikings. Emmanuel Wilson did. Over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns later, Emmanuel Wilson was a 1-week winner. And could he be a 2-week winner? Could he have a big game against Denver? I can't rule it out, especially if he's going to get the majority of work. And then he's got Chicago the week after that. I would pause this video and get Emmanuel Wilson, whether you have a bye or not, whether you've got Josh Jacobs or not. All the excitement that we had for Jalen Wright when this week started, I now have for Emmanuel Wilson.
Remember when you told me to drop him on Sunday?
I did. That was before Josh Jacobs got hurt. Did you drop? Hold on, though. To your credit, did you drop him?
No, I dropped Alec Pierce instead. Yeah. There you go. I knew what was going to happen, Dave.
You knew Josh Jacobs was going to get hurt and maybe miss the game. And here's the other thing. Like if Jacobs practices on Friday, maybe you're watching this on Friday, looks like Jacobs is going to be A-okay. Obviously, Emmanuel Wilson, like best case scenario, you put him on your bench if you've got Josh Jacobs, or even if you don't, just see what happens to Jacobs in week 15.
Okay. So who else, Dave?
What position want to start with, Adam?
Quarterback.
Well, double check and see if CJ Stroud is out there. You could use him this week and next week. He's 30% available on CBS. Arizona this week, Las Vegas next week. Should be some good opportunities for him to get right because he looked a little rusty lately. And honestly, like this is a Texans team that could really compete. If CJ Stroud gets rolling, they could be a real tough out in the playoffs. But he's rostered in a lot of leagues already. So why not Tyler Shuck? 71% available. He's got Carolina this week. He's got the Jets next week, Tennessee in week 17. So great schedule for the rest of the fantasy season. And he's given you at least 21 fantasy points in 3 of his past 4 games. We know he will run a little bit. His throwing's been okay. This is not the worst quarterback that you could put on your bench moving forward.
Okay. A couple others. I would say maybe Tua against the Bengals.
Sure. Because it's the Bengals.
And Aaron Rodgers at Detroit. So that's a game where they might have to throw a lot.
So I've got 3 names that I wrote under the header stash and maybe use based on what happens in week 15. Rodgers is on that list. Bryce Young is on that list. JJ McCarthy is on that list. He's got Dallas this week, the Giants the week after that, available in about 2/3 of CBS leagues. I actually thought he looked pretty good last week. If he builds on that against Dallas, maybe you'll have confidence to use him in week 16.
Yeah. And if you have Jackson Dart, if you have Trevor Lawrence, they get Minnesota and Houston, Denver, respectively. So you might have to pivot. All right. How about running backs?
We mentioned Wilson already. In case Devon Achane is out, let's mention Jalen Wright, still out there in 70% of leagues. And then after that, desperate times call for desperate measures. Devin Singletary, probably the best you can get at running back, 10.3 or more PPR points. In 3 of his last 4, he seems to have the short yardage goal line role in New York. Maybe he gets around 10 touches when things go right for the Giants. Dylan Sampson is 86% available. He's got Buffalo in week 16, 9.8 or more PPR points in 2 of his past 3. Jerome Ford is on injured reserve, so he's the 1B running back for Cleveland. That doesn't sound great, but it is what it is. Isaiah Pacheco is available in about 1/3 of CBS leagues. Not excited about him, even though he did have 9 carries last week. That's interesting. That's it. Running backs are tough right now. Maybe the only other piece of advice, if you haven't done it yet, get the handcuff to your stud running back on your bench so you avoid the Emmanuel Wilson rush or the Jalen Wright rush as we move forward.
We're going to take a break and talk wide receivers, tight ends, and DSTs to stash after this. All right, Dave, do we have good wide receivers to stash?
We've got some guys who are flex worthy this week, and then you could potentially use them moving forward. And Luther Burden is a name that we've talked about on this show quite a bit. 9.1 or more PPR points in 2 of his past 3 games. He had 11 PPR points last week. Uptick in routes run with Rome Odunze out. Odunze practiced on Thursday. Keep an eye on that, because obviously if Odunze comes back, and this would be a good matchup against Cleveland for Odunze to come back to, because Cleveland plays a lot of man-to-man coverage, and Odunze wins against man coverage. If he comes back, then we're not going to be as excited about Luther Burden. Maybe you get a little bit excited about Darius Slayton. He's available in 65% of leagues. He's got the Commanders. He has at least 11.2 PPR points in 3 of his last 4 games with Jackson Dart. So maybe there's an opportunity there to flex him out. Other guys that you can stash at wide receiver, Jaden Reed tops this list. 45% available. First game back last week, 9.3 PPR points. He still ran a ton of routes, 65% of the routes. I think that can go up a little bit, but he tied for the team lead in target share last week, and he would benefit from Josh Jacobs being out because he's a short area target guy, usually for the Green Bay Packers. Parker Washington, Jerry Jeudy, Devon Vele, John Mechie, other wide receivers you can put on your bench, see what happens.
Yeah, one guy that I was thinking about dropping, but I did not drop, is because I know how talented he is Ricky Pearsall. I know he's been invisible. He has 9 targets in 3 games since coming back. He has 20 yards in those games. But Tennessee this week, at Indianapolis, then Chicago. Those teams are all 25th or worse against wide receivers. It's not going to take much. If he has the good game this week, then people might go back to him. So I guess I would just maybe give him 1 more week and see what happens with Ricky Pearsall. He's just so talented and in a good offense. It's not like going for Devon Vele, right? You know, it's you're
right.
49. Okay. Anyway, tight ends.
Isaiah Likely is still out there in 68% of leagues. If there wasn't this exciting news in Green Bay, or troubling news, depending if you've got Josh Jacobs on your team, he would be the one that I would recommend to go and get as the must-add waiver wire late week stud. 68% available. He's got Cincinnati this week, New England next week. He's really integrated himself into this Ravens offense. I know what team he's on. Over the last 2 games, 6 targets in each. He's had 12.5 PPR points on the dot each of his last 2 games. And in both of those games, he should have had at least 6 more.
Good. I got a wild card for you. So it really is just, I don't know if T. Higgins is going to play, but if Higgins has this concussion that lingers, Mike Gesicki next week against the Dolphins, who stink against tight ends, and revenge game and good weather. That'd be a fun one there, but I don't think you have to go stash him. You could probably get him on waivers.
Yeah, and you know what? Darren Waller might be out there in your leagues, 26% available. He gets Cincinnati. That's the dream matchup.
That's right. That's a good one. That's even better.
And let's just say Likely's gone. Darren Waller's gone. Theo Johnson is interesting. He's had 11.7 PPR points in 2 of his past 3 with Jackson Dart. Colby Parkinson, 83% available. He's got the Lions this week, Seattle next week. He's been scoring touchdowns for the Rams. I think you could do worse at tight end.
What can we do at DST?
You can look for the Bills, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the 49ers. Definitely not in that order. Probably something along the lines of, 49ers for this week and moving forward. And then the Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys. Let's set that as the order for DSTs. But if they're gone, can I interest you in the New Orleans Saints DST? No. 65% available. They've got the Jets and then the Titans in week 16 and 17, and they've scored 10 or more fantasy points in 3 of their past 4 games. That's in standard scoring DST leagues. There's a lot of variety in how DSTs are scored across fantasy leagues. So check and see how the Saints have fared. But if they've been okay, matchups aren't that bad for them.
You're right. I didn't mean to poo-poo it like that. I was just making a joke. Saints are a good option. Anything else you want to mention?
Lions and Vikings, 45% to 58% available. Lions have the Steelers. Vikings have the Giants. Maybe there's something there with those 2, but I actually like the Saints DST better.
Okay. I mean, did you say the Chiefs? Let me see what their percentage.
They're at 29% available.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't love them. I like them. I don't love them this week against the Chargers. I will love them at Tennessee next week.
Yeah, don't drop them. All right. The thing I say, don't drop them. You know, next week there are going to be 4 teams left in your league. So it's a good chance you can get the DST you want. And because if you look at your other teams that are, look at their DSTs, are they going to be dropping whoever that, you know what I'm saying? You can be a little bit more liberal with who you're dropping right now because you might have an easier time getting them back. Thank you, Dave Richard. We never drop you, Dave.
I'm glad for that.
Yeah, you're on the do not drop list.
I don't know what the hell to say to something like that.
Just say thank you. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today. See ya.